Okay, so here is the second attempt at rebuilding the foredeck hatch. This one's actually the correct size, so we'll get it sanded up and put together. Again, it'll have pieces like this, tongue and grooved on the inside, and then covered with the same strips and deck caulked with black caulking over the top. So it'll look the same as the old hatch. A round deck light in the center, which I'll cut with a router, and we'll get to that soon. Okay, so here is the foredeck hatch parts. Did a bit of math there, as you can see on the top, to figure out how wide the slats are. And here they are in general. This is the wrong way, obviously. They'll run the other direction so that they match the inside. Got grooves routed in. So that is out of Tassie oak, which is a Australian hardwood. The inside is already stained teak. The outside I'll finish later. I'm going to cut an 8-inch circle in the center for a deck light with the router. So I need to screw and glue this up, do some deck caulking, seal it, router the hole, and then stain it, and it will be almost complete. Okay, so here is the fore hatch put together, plugged. I'm missing the center plug because I'm going to use a router jig in the center to cut the hole for the dead light. Yeah, so here it is. Tomorrow we'll shave off the wood plugs, give it a bit of sanding sealer and a bit of sanding, and cut the hole in the center. Okay, so the hatch still needs to be sanded. I've taken a 19 mil rabbiting bit, rabbited around the cutout circle I've done, and so the deck light fits in now flush with the deck. Small space for expansion of the bedding compound. Okay, for the inside of the hatch, there is about a 1/4 inch gap. I've used a 1/4 inch round over bit, although it's harder to see in this video, so that on the inside the bronze ring fits more appropriately. Okay, so there is the hatch, sanded, stained on the inside, and also stained on the sides. Just one coat. Probably take about 3 or 4 coats of stain to give it the teak look I'm looking for. Then we'll epoxy it and attach the deck light. Okay, so here is one coat of Feast Watson Golden Teak on the Tassie oak. Okay, so here is the hatch. 3 coats of West epoxy, 3 coats of varnish, and now sanded with 240 grit, lightly by hand on a foam block. And I know it looks horrible. And had I not done this before, I would be very concerned right now. However, the tiller looked exactly the same way and turned out perfect for the last 2 coats of varnish. So I haven't sanded between coats of varnish. done a 240 grit sand now after 3 coats of epoxy, 3 coats of varnish, and I'll sand by hand 240 grit between the last 2 coats. So now a finished coat of varnish, 1 more sand, and 1 final coat of varnish for 5 coats over 3 coats of epoxy. Okay, so here is the second last finished coat of varnish. 3 coats of epoxy, 3 coats of varnish. It's been hand sanded with a foam block at 240. And 1 more coat of varnish. I will hand sand again and put a 5th and final coat of varnish. So here's the hatch. 3 coats of epoxy, 5 coats of varnish, and this final coat is still wet. So let's see if we can get you a look. Definitely looks great in the photos and in person. The video, not so great because of the lighting. Okay, so here are my 2 deck lights. The one I'm using is on the right. And I just wanted to show you the difference between the sand casting as it came, finish on the inside, versus what I've done, which, although not perfect, is much better. And that was done with 40 grit sandpaper on a wood block, followed by 80, 120, and 180 on a random sander, random orbital sander, and then 320 and 600 by hand on a foam block. So the bright light shows some of the scratches as you see, but I'm still buffing it out now. And the other side, same thing, a little bit of scratches. This one in better shape, although not perfect. So I'll buff both of those out, and I'll be using this one on the deck hatch. Okay, so using Sikaflex 291, I have caulked the deck light in, screwed it down, cleaned off all the extra caulk on the inside and the outside. So that's how it looks right now. I still need to bed in the glass and then let the whole thing cure. Okay, so here it is, complete. New hatch, epoxied, varnished, sanded, and the deck light installed and sealed. Deck light needs a bit of a polish and a cleanup, but she's ready to go on the boat.